What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Release Valve. I am your host, Sean Hanlon, and I am joined today by my main man who has built a podcast and now a coaching brand around a phrase most people would only associate with sports. But Student of the Game is more than that. It's a philosophy of life itself. I'm super excited to welcome back my main man, my brother from another mother, Mr. Kyle Spain.
What is good? Oh my goodness, how fantastic it feels to be back. It's been a while, but we all have our trials, our ups and downs, and having to take breaks and falling off the wagon and getting back up. But the most important part of it all is getting back up, right? And so,
100%.
Yeah, there's just no part of life to where we're not going to get knocked down, and that is a part of being a student of the game and having that realization, right? So I appreciate you having me back on, brother. It's always a pleasure, always a blessing, always exciting.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And you're right. I think that's a big misconception with a lot of people is those getting knocked downs. And, and we've talked about it before, having that expectation of how life is supposed to be. And then as soon as you get hit, as soon as you get knocked down, you're like, this wasn't a part of the plan. And I'm not saying that we need to plan for negative things to happen, but we need to be prepared for when they do. And you're right, man. That's a part of student of the game, student of life is, taking those bads with the goods, learning from them, because we're always going to learn more from the negatives that arise than the positives, right?
Absolutely. And it's something that has to be repeated on a daily basis because we often forget. I still forget, being a representation of the student of the game. I have as a part of my everyday, part of my affirmations or part of, my reminders that I'd like to go over every morning is the fact that growth is only made through the tough times. But then there's always a rainbow on the other side of the storm, right? But it is not easy, especially when the storms are happening where we're actively in the storm. It's not easy to see the other side of it, right? It's not easy to see the gems and the lessons on the other side of it. But again, it happens more than we'd like. And ultimately that's why we need to be more prepared, for those times of storms, adversity, as we know it, right? So,
Right.
yeah, man.
Yeah, and even when you get more tools and more coping mechanisms and more escape routes, fill in the blank on different metaphors, but the more things that you learn and are able to use and adopt and apply going forward to help you deal with those hard times doesn't make it any easier. It just gives you more options on how you can handle it, right? And I think that's another misconception with a lot of people is, they'll learn something new, then they go to try it and it didn't work or it didn't help or, they weren't able to get past whatever. And they're like, hey man, I'm still struggling. What the hell? You said that if I did this, I'd be all good. No, there is no one size fits all. There is no one thing that you can do that's always going to be able to pull you through those hard times, those dark times. But the more tools that you do apply or do get and are able to use, the easier it is to get through it. Not making it easy, but easier, right?
I absolutely love that, man, because it goes back to, I was watching a motivational video the other day, or I watch it often. But it talks about how life doesn't get easier, you just get stronger. And that kind of
Yes.
also coincides with new levels, new devils, right? And it's crazy because I think about Zelda, shout out to my Nintendo fans. Zelda and all of the tools that you acquire on the way for each chapter of the game, right? You acquire more tools to beat the level that you are, but once you get to the next level, you need to acquire the next set of tools, right? Because you're now your foes are a little bit stronger. Now your challenges are a little bit harder, right? So life doesn't get easier per se. You just get stronger. And I like that perspective because when we're on this journey, we're typically going through these storms, and tough times are only made through the hard times, right? Growth is only made through the tough times. Growth is only made through the storm. And so
Right.
we have to get through that to get to the other side to grow, right? And as we continue to grow, we're then ready to attack or to embark on the next journey or the next level per se. So
Right.
yeah, bro.
Right. So I want to talk about Student in the Game. You've had different branches of a podcast, I guess, but this is a little bit different. This has kind of turned in from a podcast is a part of it, but there's more to it than that. It's more of a movement that seems to be going
Mm,
on. It's
it's a
more of
movement.
a coaching brand along with the podcast. But like I said, it's a philosophy of life, right? So break down Student in the Game for someone who hears that and thinks that it's just sports talk. Obviously, it's more to it than that. What does the game really mean to you?
Well, the game is life, right? And we're all put on this earth for a purpose, whether we want to believe that or not. It all comes down to belief, but it's really about this journey that we're all on. Or most of us, or some of us, right? I guess not all of us are on a journey yet, right? But it's about self mastery, mastering yourself, mastering personal development first and foremost. But it starts. I'll wait for that. But the Student in the Game is about becoming a student of the life, finding your identity,
Mm,
finding your craft, and setting yourself out on a mission to master yourself within that craft. And then and then establishing and mastering all the founding elements of life as well, right? Which is fitness, health, finance, and then again mindset development. And so, it's really just about finding establishing our identity and deploying ourselves in the arena in which we're passionate about, so we can not just help ourselves but help serve the world and impact the people that we're supposed to be on this world in this world to impact,
mm,
to say the least, man. So to recap, it is personal development, it's mindset development, it's the development of self, development of our craft, and basically all the basics that surround it, right? As we go to school, if you think about school being a student, right? Is what's the curriculum? You have your founding subjects. If you're talking about going to a university or a college, you're always going to have your math, your reading, maybe some history or whatever the case is, physical fitness, PE. And that's what being a student in the game is about. It is about, getting in touch with our fitness, getting in touch with ourselves, finding what we're passionate about, and again, deploying ourselves in that craft or in that arena, mastering that craft, trying to become the best.
mm,
And then the competition aspect, as far as the relatability to sports, is outdoing yourself, right? Because we often compare ourselves and compete with other people when there's no such thing, right? When we really should be focused on is outdoing ourselves, because ultimately
mm.
that's where the enemy lies, right? It is in our mind. That's where the battle is.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love that. You're so right. And especially in this day and age with social media and having such quick access to endless amounts of clips or videos or highlights or whatever of somebody else doing said thing. It's so easy to watch somebody else and play that comparison game.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that it can be a dangerous thing if you don't have the right mindset, if you're not using it as motivation to do better, if you're using it to, compare yourself to that person and the results that each of you get. Well, if you're not doing as good as that person, that can be a big letdown. And that can then deter you from trying harder. Whereas if
Yeah,
you're, like you said, focusing on yourself, being better than you were yesterday is one of my favorite quotes.
absolutely.
Focus on what it was that you were able to do yesterday and how can you beat that. And we've talked about that before too, when it comes to anything above zero compounds. And especially
Mm,
if you look at something that you did yesterday, say I did a push up yesterday. Well, today I'm going to do two push ups. Today, and that may, I think with a lot of people is they try to do it all in that one moment. And depending on what it is, there's so much time in the day, right? Spread it out. Have a little bit of time in the morning, have a little bit of time in the afternoon, have a little bit of time in the evening, whatever it is. As long as you're putting in that time, energy, and effort at some point, maybe even multiple points, you can still say I do a push up in the morning, and then I do a push up in the afternoon, and then one last push up in the evening. I just tripled what I did the day before. So,
Absolutely.
that's just talking about fitness, but I think you're so right, man. As long as we're trying to do better than what we did previously, working hard, putting in that conscious effort and energy towards whatever it is that we're doing, you're gonna make progress no matter what. And we talked about it before too, about getting rid of that practice makes perfect mindset.
Yeah.
And I love practice makes progress. That's a huge thing. Just focus on progress. Even if it's 0.01%, that's still adding on to what it was before. You do that times 10, you just got your 1%. You do that 10 times, you just got 10%. You know what I mean? Like, so make it small, make it easier to achieve, make it attainable by not focusing on this big, huge thing that you're trying to do. Take those smaller steps to get there, right?
It's so big. And, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Right. And
Same.
I've learned that, first I want to talk about connections.
Mm,
And then, I want to talk about success being a lifestyle. Um, I feel like we need, as an individual, we need to redefine what success looks like or what success is. Cause for me, it's, success is an accomplishment of a goal, an achievement of a goal. Of course, we all want to be financially successful, but it takes the becoming, right, that we do have in order to get to that financial success. And so, as far as that be through why we've talked about, establishing a connection, right? And I believe that everything is a connection. If you want to be scientific, the neurons that fire off in our head where we're able to engage with whatever it is that we're engaging with. And everything is a connection. Going back to the connection part, whether that be with your spouse, your kid, your favorite car, a toy, a video game, whatever it is that you have in an emotional,
yourself.
yeah, which is wow. I'm so glad you said that because that's the ultimate, right? I think that's the ultimate connection that we need to establish, is getting in touch with ourselves and what we really represent, right? And so, but every connection is a relationship, right? Like I said,
Mm,
whether that be with your spouse, your child, your car, right? If you're in love with this car, that's your baby. You're going to make sure that it's clean. You're going to make sure that it's tuned up and detailed, right?
mm,
And it requires action. It requires energy. It requires effort, right? And so without the effort, without the energy and action, there's no way a connection can be established. And I've realized that with a lot of what I'm working on, but it helped me actually realize that with my relationships, with my kids, with my spouse, and needing to put more energy, effort, and action in building those connections because those are relationships, right? Every relationship requires some type of forth put effort in order for it to grow, to expand, to
mm,
build a stronger connection. And so I believe that a lot of people get stuck in that Z, right? What we've talked about far, we get stuck in the end goal, but success is a lifestyle, as I mentioned, and meaning we need to be better at, even for myself, is setting daily goals that are in alignment with what and who we're trying to be and hitting those little goals on a daily basis. And that's what
mm,
I mean by success being a lifestyle, hitting those goals, those tasks, and then getting that dopamine rush was like, oh, because we thrive, bro. We thrive off self accomplishment, off challenges,
right.
overcoming challenges, and so we need to set our days up as such. So. we're able to go through our day hitting those milestones, or we're hitting those goals, so those goals continue to compound. We can
Hmm.
only take it one day at a time. But instead of being at day one or day two, and then so forth, we're always thinking about day 90. And that's where a lot of us fall off, right?
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
myself included. Yeah, I keep
me too.
looking at that bigger picture, and or being at A, looking at Z, and be like, I got to get to Z as soon as possible. It's like, well, no, I got to get to B first. I'll never get to Z if I don't get to B. I
Exactly.
think one of the things, and these are just tools, the whole B through Y concept is a tool to help with with those steps along the way, help breaking things down and making things more achievable. Again, you can't get to Z if you don't go through B through Y first. So I like what you said, because it's very important. I feel like, and that's why I love that book, Make Your Bed. You know, you don't the things that you achieve throughout the day don't always have to be these big grand changes that you've made in your life. All of these things. I did 50 achievements today. Like, I bought this, I went to this place, I did, all these type of things. You don't have to look at it like that. You can count the things that you already do or should do. I made my bed first thing in the morning. Check. Count that win. That's one. I did the
Yeah.
dishes, after eating or whatever the case is. I flossed when I didn't feel like it. Whatever.
Dude,
You can mix in bigger
those
things. I did a
right.
little bit of a workout, but count those smaller wins too throughout the day. And like you said, that's what's going to compound.
My goodness, bro. I'm so happy that you said that, because that is so important for people to understand. Being we we underestimate the small things when the small things are actually the big things. When we're
Right.
consciously aware of crossing that off, crossing those little tasks off as wins, they people don't understand what it actually does to our brain. It's like I
Right.
said, we thrive off achievement. And it's like when we're consciously aware and intentional about doing that, it's like, okay, well, I got this done. Well, I got this done. Well, I got that done. And then when you see that, you've said it before, when you see yourself check that task off, it does something to our brains and it releases that dopamine. And it's like,
Right.
okay, well, now I'm on to the next. Now our juices are flowing. And it's really just about getting that first win, but actually being like, okay, all right, boom, check that off. What's next? But if we don't
Right.
check it off, then it's like it's we're not aware of it, and then we can't and then it goes to the wayside, and we're not counting that as a win, and then it doesn't go into the record book, right? It kind of gets forgotten about.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. So even if you say check after you do
Check.
something like that, made the bed, check, you know, count how many times you said that in your morning, your afternoon, your evening, your entire day. How many times were you able to say check? And having that present state of mind, I think, is the big thing. Being
Absolutely.
consciously aware of what it is that we're doing right here, right now, and count those wins. I'm not, and I think what some people may get confused with, or may just have look at it the wrong way. Don't focus on the negatives. Don't focus on the
You
things that
took
you
it out of my
didn't do.
mouth. Oh my goodness!
Don't
Because
focus on the things that you didn't do, because then that will compile, and then
yeah,
that will build up and compound, and then that will be a big end of the day. I didn't do any of the things that I said I wanted to do. Like, I'm not saying completely ignore it either, but don't focus on that. Starting off, I think it's important to focus on the wins and start building that programming in your mind to look at those things, look at those positives. And then as you get better with that, you can start focusing on what more you can do. Then you can take a look at that list of things that you didn't do, see if you can add one of those to it, and then get that into the routine, get that programmed into you, and then continue doing that. Focus on those wins first, I think is so important.
you took it. You took it. You took it. I had wrote it down because you can't focus on two things at once, right? Um,
Right.
you're either focused on the negative, you're focused on the positive. And naturally, as humans, we're always focused on what's going wrong. We're always focused on negative outcomes. We're always focused on the doubt, because ultimately, a lot of our actions or inactions are derived from a result that we believe is going to happen in the future. right? And so,
Right.
um, having a winner's, I wrote down winner's mindset. I wrote down winner's mindset, and then I wrote down positive because it allows you to focus on the positive things. And while doing so as well, we're so programmed to focus on the negatives. Even when we're winning, it's like, well, I forgot to do X, Y, and Z. And we don't give ourselves enough grace for the accomplishments that we did make in a day. And what I'm still working on as well is reor is writing a list, having a task list, right? And prioritizing that list from the most important to the least important, uh, in addition to difficulty, right? Getting the hard stuff out of the way first, if applicable, right? And then working
Mm.
on the little stuff because naturally, as humans, you know, we with that dope rush, if we get that dope rush first, if we do all the easy stuff first and leave the hard stuff for last, then the
We're
likelihood of
not
us
going to want to do
accomplishing,
it.
we're not going to want to do it because
Yeah.
naturally the way our chemicals are set up, it's like we want to have that joy first, and then when it comes to the hard stuff, we're just not wanting to do
Mm.
it, right? So I even tell my kids, even for myself, on everything, because it's a principle and it applies. It's transferable in everything else that we're doing in life, and so that's what I'm trying to work on. I'm still not good at it at all because structure has been one of my weaknesses, but ultimately, um, identifying those weaknesses and continuing to chip away at those weaknesses, getting the hard stuff out the way, like I said first, and then moving on to the littler tasks, so we can set ourselves up for the most success. So,
Right. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a strategy that may get altered or adjusted depending on who the person is. Maybe some people need to start small and then do the big. You know, do one or
get the
two
ball
easy
rolling.
tasks. Yeah, get that
Yeah.
ball rolling. Get that self of accomplishment. That
Mm.
feeling of self accomplishment in there, and then okay, yeah, now I can go do this. Or
Because
some
that big
people.
thing could be daunting. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, right. Some people may jump right into that big thing. Some people may need to do all of these little things first, and then they have to put themselves in a position to have to do the big thing. Again, it's going to be different for everybody, but I think, one of the things that you said that I think is super important for a lot of people to understand is how hard it can be to not have a structure set up for you and for you to have to set up the structure on your own. And that's why I think it's important to work with coaches or mentors or, fill in the blank that can help you structure those type of things. I have quite
Hmm.
a few life coaches that come on the podcast, and soon to be you helping people out in these type of things as well.
Soon to
We
be you helping people out
Soon
with
to be
these.
us.
Yeah,
Soon to
let's
be us.
go.
Helping people put that structure together. Sometimes it's easier if, I can do the thing. You just got to tell me what that thing is and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I'm working with people right now too. I know how to work out. I know how to stretch. I know how to, do certain things, but it's hard for me to put that together on my own. So I do this almost every episode, but I got to give another shout out to Mindy and Steve from NCK Bellingham. Steve helps me out with fitness, kickboxing, karate, and now Mindy's helping me out stretch my body and do different workout and stretching routines to help with my mobility and flexibility. Can I look this stuff up on YouTube? Can I look up different programs on the internet, whatever? Yeah, I can, but it's hard for me to put that structure in myself. And they're
Mm.
helping me out with that. And it's making it a lot easier for me to go after it when somebody has that list of things. Do this. All right, about to jump on it right now. Thank you very much. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it it makes, like you said, it makes it easier for you to get that task done. Now you're more effective, right, with that area in which you need to be effective for it. But now it's opened up the energy and the time for you to focus on something, on other things, focus on the things on your craft and the
Right.
things that you need to focus on. And this was a complete mindset shift for me a while back. I don't know how long ago this was, but I used to look down on wealthy people for hiring a lawn guy, for hiring a housekeeper, for hiring a pool guy, right? Because what we need to understand is that we're all put on this earth for some type of purpose, right? Purpose needing to serve somebody, whether that is being a pool cleaner, whether that is having a lawn business or a cleaning business, whatever the case is, a car, whatever it is. And it allows us to to delegate that time or that structure or that service to somebody else so we can focus on whatever it is that we're supposed to be focusing on, because we
Right.
only have so much time in the day to get things accomplished. And even for me right now, I don't have a lawn guy and it takes me 2 hours to do the lawn when I don't want to do the
Right.
lawn, right? And that's where fast food comes in, right? Not healthy for you at all, but who has
Hmm.
time to sit in the kitchen and cook? Right? Who has time to do that when we got
Right.
work to do in other areas? And
Right.
so it's part of the circle of life in allowing somebody else. And then not only that, we are serving somebody else. We are helping somebody else's business thrive by doing so. And so Myron Golden said it the best. He's like, it's our duty to try our best to become as wealthy as possible so we can not only help ourselves, help our family, but but to help other businesses thrive as well,
Mm.
because it's the circle of life. Being able to have the funds, the means to be able to go hire a lawn guy, now you're helping his business thrive. Now you're blessing them, so it's a circle of life, man. It's a circle
Mm.
of life, and it's definitely a different type of mindset that we need to dive into, as far as it being our duty to find that identity, to find it is what it is that we're supposed to be mastering our craft at, so we can serve the world and continue this circle of life.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's the student of life. That's the student of the game, is focusing on all of the aspects of this circle of life, right? And all the different things that encompass what it is that we're doing while we're here. Um I think it's huge, man. It's looking at the bigger picture, not
Right.
focusing on this one aspect, not focusing on the negatives like we talked about, you know what I mean? What can I do that is not only going to help me, but yeah, help somebody else out in the process, right? That's I love that the definition of purpose and passion. Passion is something that you enjoy that gives you fulfillment, and purpose is applying that passion to help others, right? Something
Hmm.
like that. I can't remember what
Yeah.
it is, but
Yeah.
but that's what it's all about, man. And that's what you and I are talking about, what we eventually want to do, or in the process of putting together, is being those type of people that help other people thrive. It's going to help us and help the businesses that we're putting together. It's going to help other people be able to focus on the things that they're trying to focus on. And we're all just going to be helping each other get better at all these different aspects of life. You know, I'm so excited about having these type of conversations, man, because I feel like so many of us get so caught up in our day-to-day grind, in our daily, just gotta get through the day type of thing, and we have our head down. And as soon as we pick our head up and we realize how many other people we're coming in contact with, that's how many people that you can have a positive effect on their life, how many people can have a positive effect on your life. And imagine if every single person, all right, maybe not every single person, but a high majority of the people that you come in contact with on a daily basis are helping you get better in life. And at that same time, you're helping them get better. What if we were all literally just helping each other
Iron
get
sharpens
better?
iron, right?
Right, exactly. And that's so exciting to me, man, cuz I spent a long time feeling sorry for myself. you know,
A lot of
um
us do.
wishing I went right instead of going left back in the day,
A
you
lot of us
know,
do.
thinking about all the things that I could be doing right now, that I
That's the
should be
trap.
doing right now. You know what I mean? Exactly. And I was never having this forward thought process. It was always a backward thought process, going back in time and thinking about all the things that I wish I could do different. While while that's happening, I'm now missing out on all this opportunity that's directly in front of me.
Oh my goodness, you said it again, bro. I got this word written down. And the opportunity, do you know, and I hate to cut you off, but even for me, I neglect it. I'm not as aware of it. I'm going to put it in my binder of life is what I called it, as far as a reminder for myself on a daily basis of how much opportunity we actually have on a daily basis.
Right.
You know, we're always like, well, when I get this opportunity or searching for opportunities, when opportunities are passing us by on a daily basis, right? It's because we're waiting for something to come to us when in actuality it's the action that allows us to move forward instead of being stuck in the past and being paralyzed by what was and or what could be or the what ifs of the future or what ifs the what ifs of the future and the what ifs of the past, right? Either or the anxiety of the future and depression of the past that leaves us stuck in the present. And like you said, we're missing out on so much opportunity. We're missing out on the opportunity to get better, opportunity that actually comes to us, opportunities to focus. There's so many opportunities on a daily basis and I smile because I'm just like, man, even for myself, it's like, what opportunities are going to arise today? It's something I need to be thinking about on a daily, on a hourly basis, on a daily basis, right? So I love that you
Right.
said that.
Yeah, focus on the opportunities, not the obstacles.
Yeah.
And that was another thing for me. I spent a long time looking at all the things that were preventing me from doing what it was that I wish I could be doing right now. You know,
Mm,
it's gone through so many stages in my life of just, like I said, feeling sorry for myself, waiting for, like you said, that savior, that superhero, that person that's going to come in and say, all right, you've struggled long enough. I'm here to help you. I'm here to save you. You know, I've been watching you this whole time, and here you go. Here's this freebie. And now I laugh when I think about that. You know what I mean? That's such a poor me, somebody do this for me mindset, victim mentality.
it's the
And
for me, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's just, you know, it would feel so much better for me to build something on my own, for me to pull myself up out of the mud, like we talked about at the beginning, getting knocked down and not laying there saying, "Is somebody going to help me up?" You know, no, to be able
Right.
to get back up on my own and to stand up and persevere and push through and get stronger, get better, learn something new and apply that so that way I don't get knocked down again, or at least not by the same thing. And I get, like I said, man, I get excited, you know, thinking about new things that I can learn that are going to help me, new things that I can learn that helped me that I can then teach somebody else and help them. You know, I'm not looking for somebody to help me up. I'm not looking for somebody to get up for me. But if I can learn something from somebody else on how to get up or a different way to get up, I would love to do that. That's what it's all about, you know, learning those new tools, learning those new there's those new things that we can do to get better on a daily basis.
Man, that's so good. That's so good. I want to talk about something that an event that happened where this what is was it today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday. This ties into being a student of the game, right? The game, um, challenges, the challenges that we encounter, right? And approaching those challenges a little bit differently. I learned so much yesterday. So, at my job right now, right? Working in a warehouse, I drive, I work with forklifts, right? And still getting acclimated with different scenarios, right? There was a scenario yesterday where I had to put a couple of pallets of water on this dude's truck, right? And my lead, my supervisor, he's like, "Do you want me to get it, or you want to get it?" And he was like, "I was like, I got it, right? I got it, right, right." So I'm out, so I'm out there, and I'm like on this hill, or whatever, and I get the first pallet on there, right? But then I'm like, Jeff is his name. I'm like, Jeff, like, I don't know how to get this second pallet, right? And he's like in the warehouse while I'm outside, working with this forklift, right? And he gives me a suggestion to use a pallet, right? for those who don't know what a pallet is, right? It's those wooden little platforms that they put material on or whatever it is so they can hold enough material. So he's like, use a pallet to push it, right? And so I get this pallet and like I'm struggling with it, right? And I like for a moment I felt like a kid like wanting his mommy, right? Like it was like, mommy, come help me, like right, right. And Jeffy's just over there. He's just standing there, like looking at me, like
How's
right,
this gonna go?
right, exactly, right. But what ended up happening is I ended up figuring it out, right? And the moral of the story is like when we face challenges, the first thing that we want to do is run, right? The first thing we want to do is search for help, right? And maybe we need a little guidance, but
Right.
he just stood there and let me figure it out. He's like, figure it out. And I ended up figuring it out. And that taught me so much because obviously I was new at it, right? And this is what happens for all of us. We find we embark on something new or we face these challenges, which is a new challenge, right? And everything we have to get used to everything. Everything is new until it isn't. And so,
Mm.
I'm like, all right, boom, let's do it. And the dudes that I'm putting the water on the truck, they're just standing there like trying to just letting me just figure it out. But what happened was I ended up figuring it out and I overcame the challenge, right? Now, how good did I feel about myself,
Right.
about overcoming a challenge that I was like scared to embark or scared to face?
Heart rate starts going a little bit, and you're like,
Exactly.
oh, no, everybody's watching. I
Right.
can't mess this up.
But that taught me about, okay, this didn't work. Let me try a different way to get
Mm.
this figured out, to accomplish this. And that's how we need to start facing our challenges on a daily basis. It's like this method didn't work, right? And what you say earlier, it's like, okay, well, this didn't work. You said this was going to work. Oh, it's a failure. But failure is information. It's like, okay, this didn't work. Let me try something different and let me see if
Right.
this works. Process of elimination. Okay, this didn't work. Let's try and use our brains and figure something out. Critical thinking. And I'm saying it like that because it was a moment of growth, of personal development. And now that that's going to allow me to face challenges in such a way that's going to be like, okay, well, this didn't work. Let me try it this way. Let me try it this way until we figure out a solution to our problem.
Right. That's like the what is it? What they say, fail stands for first attempt in learning.
That's so good.
Right. So
That's so good.
that's a different way to frame it. Um, First attempt in learning. This was my first attempt at something in now I know, like we talked about in the past. Now I know.
Mm.
And not being so afraid of, like we said, failure is not the destination. It's that first attempt in learning.
It's
And just
information.
because, right, you're just computing, you're programming, you're learning something new. Nobody ever went into school, took a test the very first day and aced it. No, you had to
Right.
learn
You
the
have to
the different
study.
lessons across the way. Yeah, you had to study, you had to go through different things, learn different things, hear the teacher talk about different things, talk and hear from other students. That's what it's all about, man. So again, removing failure as a destination and removing the fear of said failure and look at it as, again, not an obstacle, but an opportunity to learn something new and get better at it and apply that going forward. So now the next time you're in that situation of loading that water, you're going to say, I remember this. I remember what worked last time. Let me try that again. So,
So good. That's so good because that's what Student of the Game is about. It's about learning.
mm,
It's about the study of whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, whatever that is, right? And that's exactly what Student of the Game is about. It's overcoming those mistakes, utilizing those mistakes. And I want to go back because I wanted to talk about the journey. And we get so caught up in the destination, right? When there is no destination,
right,
there's no
right.
such thing as a destination. There's always room for growth, right? We get caught up in said goal, And when it's really about the becoming, when it's really about the identity shift, and I can't even articulate my words in a way, and I hope that I can in a way that people will receive this, because I'm still, this is all, you know, something that I'm like coming to the surface with, I'm realizing and becoming aware of of the identity, right? And it's removing the destination and figuring out the little steps on the way. Like we said, say the water, putting the pallets of water on this dude's truck was a part of a bigger process or was a part of a bigger goal. Do you
Right.
know? That was a part of the journey that I had to learn to get to the next level. And that's how we need
Mm,
to start approaching whatever it is that we want to become, and stop and remove the result, remove the emotion from the
mm,
result, and analyze it. That's the study aspect, right? What happened here? What can I have done better? You know, what was this? What did I do? And I'm learning about metrics right now. That's been on my heart lately as far as my development and building the business that I'm building. And it's so important because it's about systems, about processes. It's about refining the process and the system so we can have better outcomes,
mm,
right? You know, as far as basketball, I'm using the basketball as an analogy, you have a game, right? And you have a bad game. And a lot of us, you know, when it comes to sports, our emotions are very, very intertwined with the outcome, of course, right?
right.
But if we can find ourselves reducing the amount of emotion involved in that loss and utilize that loss as an opportunity to get better, you go back and you watch film. Okay, where did I go wrong here? What did I do there? Now we're studying, right, the game. We're analyzing the game, and we're figuring out the mistakes that we made so we can go back and figure out how to fix those problems, those solutions. Okay, well now this didn't work, or this is what happened, or this was what went wrong. Now I can go back and fix that process. And so I met a dude, his name is Mark, and he's the district he is a district, you call him a DOM, district operations managers, and he's all about metrics. He's all about systems. It's not necessarily about the result. Yes, we want a great result, but it's about what happened here. How much time can I eliminate in this piece? How can we make this more
Mm,
efficient? And that's what I'm learning. Okay, processes, systems, finding a system, having a rough draft of that, throwing it out there so we can execute. And now we're just refining that process. This is the result that we got. Now, how can we better that result? This is the result we got on here, not the result that we wanted. What went wrong? Not like, oh my
right.
goodness, this happened. Now the world's over. Let's like, no, every mistake, every failure is information on how we can refine the process to get a better result. And that's why Kobe was so good. That's why he was phenomenal at what he did, because he was a
We
student
talked
of the
about
game.
that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We talked about that with I think that was with KJ. Shout out to Kevin Johnson. We're gonna get him back on soon too. Because I'm vastly approaching episode 100. But yeah, he talked about that with Kobe too. Was he missed a shot or missed a couple shots or something like that, and one of the people interviewing him afterwards asked him, you know, oh, you must be really upset or you must feel bad or whatever about that. And he was like, feelings, like it has nothing to do with feelings. Like I'm thinking about what I did wrong and what I can do different, what I can do
So
better type of
good.
thing. And I'm botching it, but that's pretty much what the gist of it was. It's that growth mindset, you know, always
Yeah.
looking to get better and not focusing on those negatives like we talked about. And again, I think that's a big, that's why I love the term student of life. And I love the title that you have, student of the game being life, having a student mindset, looking
Hmm.
to learn, looking to grow. And I think that's a big thing. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because again, this isn't just about sports. For those that play sports, that's a big part of it, right? But it's that part of sports that it actually applies to life. What's a daily habit that you would instruct or coach or help somebody that this has nothing to do with with sports or talent or anything like that. What is something that somebody can do on a daily basis to help them with this thought process?
Self audit, self auditing, something that I'm still working on as well. Um, but it goes back into the system routine, being able to reflect on your day and figure out, what did I learn from today? What did I get out of today? What was the value, especially when we're going through storms, right? It's something that I've really been focused on when I'm in the middle of a storm. What is
Mm,
the value that God wants me to see? What value can I pull out of this? What's the lesson that I can learn and utilize that moving forward? And at the end of the day, what was it that I was trying to accomplish? And how can I be better at accomplishing that goal? What were my failures? What were my mistakes? And sometimes you're gonna, it's like, man, I love, this has stuck with me ever since you said it. Playing Mario, right? Sometimes you got to die over and over and over again. You got to get sent back to the beginning in order to learn the lesson in front of you. Sometimes you're going to make the same mistake more than twice, maybe three times, maybe four times, maybe five times until that lesson has been learned,
mhm,
right? And it's about refining that process. It's about figuring out how we can be better on a daily basis. And it's not an easy task because we're result oriented. We have our emotions attached to what happens to us instead of it happening for us, right? And
mm,
that is a big one for me on a daily basis. Everything is happening for me. Because a lot of us go through these days thinking our days are going to be perfect, right? Not that we think our days are going to be perfect, but it's as if we think our days are going to be perfect. So when adversity hits, we're thrown off track and it's just like, why me versus what is happening right now? You know, how can
right.
I, how can I pull the value? And not just that, but the emotional regulation aspect of it as well, right? Not getting so caught up in like what just happened and having that reaction, but more so responding in a way that's going to allow us to move forward with that personal development and that growth. So
Mm,
it's about studying. Again, it's about learning what happened, learning how we can get better, and continuing to refine that process because everything's a muscle, right? Everything takes time, it takes practice, it takes repetitions in
mm.
order for us to get better at doing whatever it is that we're doing.
I absolutely love that. I think that's huge. Assessing,
Assessing,
reflecting
reflecting.
on yeah, what it is that we're going through, why we're going through it, what's the feelings that we're getting from this, why are we feeling this way, what led
Yes.
to this, instead of just sitting there with the, oh, life is so hard or today sucked, and just allowing
Embrace the
ourselves to
suck.
yeah, allowing ourselves to succumb to the weight of whatever it is, and instead of having that, like I said, that growth mindset to really take a look at what it is that's going on, why it's going on, and what led to it. What did you do that allowed this to happen? What could you have done to not have allowed this to happen? What can you do differently going forward? What? You know what I mean? Like, ask yourself those questions.
Questions, yes. We
Just be
have to
on,
ask.
like,
Yeah.
take that time to sit with yourself and really assess the things that went down and why they went down. And again, what you could have done differently. I think that's a huge thing for people. They may feel like they don't have that time. Oh, I have this going on, I have that going on, and
So
I get
good.
it. It's hard. I don't mean to say any of this stuff like it's so easy. All you have to do is this: just push your feelings aside, and everything will be all good. No, but I think these are again more tools that you can add to your tool belt, your toolbox, that may help you get through those tougher times. That may make it a little easier, not easy like we talked about, but it may help you get through it. It may make you a little stronger, like you were saying, and may give you that, like you said, that emotional regulation that you need to not be so reactive to things that are going on, instead of having that being able to hit the brakes and think about it, really assess it, and so that way you can have a better understanding of not just what's going on, but yourself too, right?
Man, like this is so good. All right, going back to basketball as a reference. When you miss a shot or you turn the ball over, especially this generation, this day and age, the first thing the hooper wants to do, or the player that wants to do, is put their head down and mope and dwell in the missed shot, in the turnover. Now we've wasted time. Now we let our team down. Now the other team is about to get a bucket, or whatever the case is. When we could have just, all right, the shot was missed. Boom. Let me get back on defense and figure out how to be better on the offensive end on the next play. We spend so much
Right.
time on dwelling on what happens to us, and that's energy and time wasted. We could just be moving forward, using it as information so we can be better. It's all about time. I wanted to suggest a tool that has completely changed my life, and is still being refined, still being sharpened. But we underestimate how long things take, right? Uh, People will spend more time being lazy than it is to do the actual thing that they need to do. That's what Myron Golden said. And it's so true. Um, there'll be a piece of paper on the floor, and this used to be me. And I saw my son do this the other day too. There'll be a piece of paper on the floor, and instead of bending over or squatting down to pick it up, let me try and pick it up with my foot. Like that's easier, right? And it's like I don't feel like bending down, so let me spend more time trying to pick it up with my foot, right? And I used to be one of those people that used to walk over a piece of paper and not pick it up, and I'm not that person anymore. But when it comes to trying to accomplish a task and you don't feel like doing it, time yourself. Literally,
Mm.
time yourself. You throw a dish in the sink, and it's like your first thought is like, oh, it's just a dish. But then those dishes pile up, and then when it comes time to do those dishes, now you've got an hour of dishes. Versus like, oh, I'm tired, I don't feel like doing this dish. But time yourself and actually see how long it actually takes for you to do the dish. And what I found out
Right.
is it takes about 15 seconds to wash a dish, 30 seconds to wash a dish. And really, you're going to sacrifice 30 seconds for an hour. And
Right. Right.
ultimately, that's how we live our lives. We underestimate how long things are going to take simply because we don't feel like doing it. And that's that procrastination. Procrastination builds interest, negative interest, on a daily basis, right? So if you leave that dish, 2 dishes piled up, 3 dishes piled up, now we got 30 seconds, a minute, then we got 5 minutes, versus when we could have just rinsed it off or whatever. You got caked on stuff. Now
Right. Right.
it's that much harder. And so this has completely changed my life, bro. And
You
I've
spend
used
15 minutes thinking about how you don't want to do the dishes
it.
instead of just
Exactly.
those 15 seconds.
But that's you're laughing and it's hilarious, but that is how we live our lives. We
No,
spend,
yeah, yeah. I do it too.
especially with me being an overthinker. Like
Right. Right.
we spend so much time analyzing, thinking about this, dwelling, when you could have just got up and done the thing. And this happens to me with cooking as well. It's like, I don't feel like cooking. It's like, what are we going to eat? Should I just cook that? I don't feel like cooking that. 30 minutes has gone by when I could have just like, oh man, like it happens with French fries. I'm cooking burgers. I might be a little late on putting the French fries in. And it's just like, it's too late, when it's actually may not have been too late. First, you got to put the burger on the bun, and by the time it takes for you to sit down and eat, maybe the fries would have been done. Man, so it is it's so serious, and that's one of the tools that I'm using right now. That has been phenomenal for me. Time yourself, see how long it actually takes. And if it takes an actual long time, well, now you know. But if it's only about 30 seconds or to a minute, then it's like, okay, well, this wasn't really that long. It didn't really take that long
Right.
to complete this task.
Right. No, I think that's a good one, man. I think that's huge. And again, I do it too. I still do those type of things. I spend more time thinking about why I don't want to do something or why I shouldn't do it, and instead of just the time that it would take to do it, I'd already be done and feel that much better about myself afterwards. One less
Oh,
thing that I
that's
have
it
to
right
worry
there.
about.
Say that again. Oh, and and feel better about doing it because we always feel worse when we don't do it.
Right. Right.
You know, like when we don't, when we're not taking action, and it's a crazy thought. When we don't get our task done, whether we don't feel like because we didn't feel like it or X, Y, and Z excuses, we never feel better about not getting the task done. Same
Not
thing
a
going to the
single
gym.
time.
Not a single time. It's like, oh, let
Nope.
me wait till tomorrow. And then, like I said, procrastination compounds. It builds interest because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And it happens to me all the time. Like I was I telling you about it? It was like it's like I needed to go get gas.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. Like, I'll get
Yeah.
gas tomorrow, and then tomorrow
Right.
comes, you're already running late, and it's like,
Right. Well,
oh
that's it. It's
fuck.
like you're exactly right.
Yep,
And so I think procrastination has been a big thing for me that I am mastering, and it's been a game changer. A
I love
game
that, man.
changer.
Being a student of the game means to be a student of life, and those lessons never stop coming as long as you have that growth mindset and that willingness to learn. Right.
That's it. It's the growth mindset and the willingness to learn. A lot of us think that we know everything, and we don't even scratch. We haven't even scratched the surface on how much knowledge there is actually. We don't. There's
Right.
so many. We don't have enough life to learn what it is to learn everything there is to learn in this world. We don't have enough
Right.
life. So it's a matter of we only know what we know, so we need to learn so we can know more. We often we often judge something based off of our experiences on outcomes or whatever it is, and we only know what we know. And so having that growth mindset is the first thing, wanting to learn, being aware, right, is first. Holding yourself accountable, that victim mindset, it has to be removed ultimately
Right.
in order to learn, right? Because we never like being wrong. We hate being wrong. And so
Yeah.
I think that I think that is a big reason is why what prevents ourselves we prevent ourselves from learning more because when we're wrong, we feel sheepish, we might feel embarrassed, might feel stupid. And so we're always like, "Oh, I know." Like my kids, they're like, "Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I
Right. No,
know.
you
I
don't.
know."
And
You
it's
don't.
okay not to.
And it's okay. It's okay not to. So, I'm working on
I
that
think
criticism too.
what goes hand in hand with, we only know what we know. On the flip side of that, we don't know what we don't know
Mm,
until we learn it, until we find out,
exactly.
until we come across something new. And that's the important part of having these type of conversations, networking with other people, putting yourself out there, receiving other people putting themselves out there, because you'll learn something new. There's 8 billion people or something in the world, right? You think that there's nothing that you can learn from anybody. You can learn a little bit of something from literally anybody. Even the homeless person on the street in the city can teach you something that you've never experienced before in life. Mind
Yeah.
blowing experiences, mind blowing perspectives that will completely change your outlook on life. So be open again, having that that willingness to learn and have a growth mindset, focusing on the opportunities and not the obstacles, right?
Yeah.
So I love it, man. I love when we can get on here and we can talk about these type of things. It's been too long. We need to not let it be this long until the next one that we do
Absolutely.
together because we get the juices flowing. Before we jump off, though, because you have a new-ish podcast and soon to be coaching services, let people know where they can find you, where they can start following you, where they can get in contact, even start training with you or working with you.
Right now, I've got the basketball aspect of Student of the Game, which is Student of the Game, STUDNT underscore of underscore the game and so on. And then the the life aspect will be on my original platform, which is Kyle's Quest. I'm working on maybe changing it to Student of the Game Life. I'm not sure yet, but I like Kyle's Quest because it's a quest, right? We're all on a
Right.
quest. We're all on an adventure. So Thought Provoked will be probably modified into the Student of the Game podcast. Thought Provoked brought to you by Student of the Game. But yeah, that's where we'll be right now. And then this will be my first episode for the Student of the Game podcast, as I'm going to be putting it back on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and whatnot. So you'll be able to access the Student of the Game podcast on those platforms here soon.
Mm. I love it. I love it, man. I love what you're doing. I love the mindset behind it. I love that you're taking concepts that you've learned and that have helped you and are then trying to pay it forward and help other people in the process as well. So I think that's a beautiful thing, man, and I commend you for it. Um, Man, I appreciate you, brother. This was a lot of
Likewise, bro.
fun.
Man.
It's been too long, like I said, but man, does it feel good. So we got to make sure that we keep this thing going so that way we can keep this thing growing.
Yes, sir. Keep this thing flowing.
I love it. All right. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.